You think you know what makes the villain tick, right? Evil Morty is no ordinary antagonist. He doesn't want to conquer the world, enslave humanity, or destroy reality. No, Evil Morty wants something far more dangerous. Freedom from the very system that created him. And that, my friends, is a far more terrifying motivation than any petty ambition. When Evil Morty returns, it's not just about his personal vendetta against Rick. It's about something far more profound. The destruction of the entire multiversal hierarchy, the very structure that has allowed Ricks to reign supreme, while Mortys like him remain nothing more than sidekicks. Evil Morty's return isn't just another twist in the show's narrative. It's a bold declaration that the system itself is broken, and the fight for freedom is far more dangerous than we ever imagined. This is no longer just a battle between Morty and Rick, but between the oppressed and the oppressor, between the very fabric of existence and the will to break free. From the very beginning of Rick and Morty, Morty has been the foil to Rick's chaotic genius. Where Rick is cynical, intelligent, and morally ambiguous, Morty is the innocent, the moral center of the show, constantly pulled into Rick's reckless adventures. Morty represents the everyman. He's confused, scared, and, at times, completely out of his depth. He's a kid trying to survive in a universe that's far too complex and dangerous for him to truly understand. But what happens when Morty starts to lose that innocence? What happens when Morty realizes that the multiverse isn't a playground, but a vast system that has trapped him in a cycle of servitude? Evil Morty's transformation isn't a simple descent into villainy. It's a deliberate, calculated rejection of the world that created him, a world that has defined him as nothing more than Rick's sidekick. Evil Morty doesn't just want to be free of Rick. He wants to be free from the system that has kept him oppressed. Evil Morty is not like the villains we're used to seeing. He doesn't aim for domination, nor does he seek revenge in the traditional sense. He's motivated by something deeper, something more insidious. He wants the power to create his own destiny, to take down a system that rewards genius over compassion, perfection over individuality. This quest for personal freedom, to break the chains that bind him, is what makes Evil Morty so compelling, so terrifying. One of the most important concepts introduced in Rick and Morty is the central finite curve, the boundary that separates universes where Rick is the smartest from those where he isn't. This curve has kept the multiverse neatly divided into two categories, one where Ricks reign supreme, and the other where they don't. The central finite curve has served as the foundation for everything in the Rick and Morty multiverse. It's a line that keeps Ricks in control, maintaining the status quo that places them above everyone else, including Morty's. But Evil Morty sees this curve for what it really is: a prison. A barrier that ensures that Ricks stay on top and that every Morty, including himself, remains at the bottom of the hierarchy. Morty realizes that the entire multiverse is built on this false premise, that only the Ricks can be the true architects of reality, and everyone else must play their part in supporting this false narrative. Evil Morty isn't just rejecting Rick's leadership. He's rejecting a universe that defines his existence as irrelevant. This is the turning point. Evil Morty decides that he will no longer remain a passive participant in the game that Ricks have created. Instead, he will break free. Evil Morty's ultimate goal is to destroy the central finite curve. To him, it represents the very system that has subjugated him and countless others like him. The entire multiverse, in Evil Morty's eyes, is built on the backs of people like him. Mortys who are nothing more than pawns in Rick's endless quest for power and validation. And that's the problem. For every Rick who is celebrated for his genius, there are infinite Mortys who are overlooked, disregarded, and trapped in a never-ending cycle of subservience. It's a system that has oppressed them for generations. To Evil Morty, the central finite curve is a prison. It's a line that divides the multiverse in such a way that only Ricks are allowed to be the true architects of reality. And Evil Morty has seen enough. He understands that the only way to truly free himself and every Morty in existence is to break down that barrier, to remove the system that has defined his existence as insignificant. He's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting for all the Mortys who have been relegated to the sidelines. He's fighting for a future where no one is defined by their relationship to Rick, but by their own choices. At first glance, Evil Morty appears to be just another villain, a dark mirror of Morty, the innocent, naive sidekick. But as the show progresses, it becomes clear that Evil Morty's evolution is more than just a simple fall from grace. It's a deliberate, calculated rejection of the world that has constantly pushed him aside. Morty begins as the perfect foil to Rick's madness. But as time goes on, he realizes that being the good guy, the obedient sidekick, has never served him in any meaningful way. It has only kept him in the shadows, overshadowed by Rick's brilliance. And that realization is what drives his rebellion. Evil Morty doesn't want to replace Rick as the smartest person in the universe. That's not his goal. His goal is far more dangerous. He wants to dismantle the system that has made Rick the center of the multiverse and Morty the sidekick. In doing so, Evil Morty isn't just rejecting Rick's worldview. He's rejecting the entire idea of power, knowledge, and control as defined by Rick's. It's not just about being better than Rick. It's about freeing himself from the very notion that anyone, especially a Rick, should be considered better than anyone else. As Morty begins to see through the cracks in the multiverse, he realizes that perfection isn't something to aspire to. It's something that binds you. It's a trap. The more perfect Morty tries to be, the more he becomes a tool of Rick's will, a means to an end in Rick's never-ending pursuit of control. And that realization, that moment of clarity, is what drives Evil Morty's rebellion. He's not fighting for power. He's fighting for freedom. He's fighting for the ability to choose his own path, to live on his own terms, without being defined by the expectations of others. When Evil Morty returns in later episodes, it's clear that his transformation isn't just about revenge. It's about dismantling a system that has kept Mortys like him subjugated for far too long. Evil Morty isn't fighting Rick because he wants to take his place. He's fighting against the system that has placed Rick in a position of power in the first place. To Evil Morty, the central finite curve represents everything that is wrong with the multiverse. It's a structure that keeps Ricks at the top while condemning everyone else, especially Mortys, to lives of insignificance. In this way, Evil Morty is more than just a villain. He's a revolutionary, a figure who wants to upend the very foundation of the multiverse. He doesn't want to rule. He wants to destroy the very idea of ruling. He wants to tear down the walls that have confined him to a life of subjugation and make the multiverse a place where Mortys and everyone else can define their own futures. But doing so won't be easy. It will require a complete upheaval of the way the multiverse works. And that's where Evil Morty's true villainy lies. He's not just trying to defeat Rick. He's trying to destroy everything Rick represents. The question of whether Evil Morty is a true villain or a misunderstood hero is one that Rick and Morty explores with incredible depth. On the surface, Evil Morty's actions are clearly antagonistic. He's fighting against Rick, the main protagonist of the show, and he's using increasingly underhanded methods to accomplish his goals. But the more we learn about Evil Morty's motivations, the more we realize that his actions are not driven by petty malice or a desire for revenge. They are driven by a deep sense of injustice and a desire for autonomy. Evil Morty's villainy isn't about doing evil for the sake of it. It's about fighting back against a system that has treated him as nothing more than a tool. It's about confronting the fact that the multiverse, as it exists, is a rigged game. One that places the ricks at the top and relegates everyone else to the sidelines. In that sense, Evil Morty's rebellion is less about villainy and more about justice. He's not trying to destroy Rick. He's trying to destroy Rick's control over the multiverse because it's the only way to free himself and others from a life of subjugation. What makes Evil Morty's story so tragic is that it's not just about him. It's about the cycle of oppression that exists within the Rick and Morty universe. Morty, the innocent sidekick, is forced into a world where his worth is defined solely by his relationship to Rick. Rick, the genius scientist, has all the power, all the influence, and all the glory. Morty, on the other hand, has none of that. He's just a tool, a companion, a means to an end. But as Evil Morty learns, there's power in knowledge. There's power in understanding the system and learning how to use it. Evil Morty realizes that by following the rules to perfection, he can make Rick look like the failure. And in doing so, he can take control of his own destiny. This realization is what drives Evil Morty's rebellion, and it's what makes him such a complex character. He's not just fighting against Rick, he's fighting against the very idea of what it means to be a Morty. He's fighting for a world where he's not just a sidekick, a pawn in Rick's game, but a person in his own right. When Evil Morty returns, he forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of power, freedom, and morality. He's not just a villain. He's a symbol of the oppression that exists in our own world. He's a reflection of the systems that keep certain people in power while relegating others to lives of subservience. Evil Morty's return is a powerful reminder that freedom isn't something that is given to you. It's something you have to fight for. And sometimes that fight requires you to break free from the systems that have defined your life. Evil Morty's rebellion may seem like a villainous act, but in many ways, it's an act of liberation. He's not just trying to take Rick's place. He's trying to free himself from a system that has defined his existence as nothing more than a sidekick. And in doing so, he becomes a symbol of resistance, a figure who challenges the very structure of the multiverse itself. Evil Morty's return is a powerful reflection on the nature of morality, freedom, and power. He's not just a villain. He's a tragic figure who's been pushed to the edge by a system that values him only for his usefulness. And in rejecting that system, Evil Morty becomes something more. A hero for those who have been oppressed by the very systems that govern our lives.
His story is a reminder that sometimes the fight for freedom is not about overthrowing the powerful, but about dismantling the very systems that keep us oppressed. Evil Morty may be the villain, but in many ways, he's the hero we need. The one who challenges the systems that have kept us in chains. And until we recognize the difference between those who seek power for power's sake and those who seek freedom, we will continue to live in a world where evil never dies, simply because we keep calling it good.